I had a uterine cyst, a uterine polyp removed. Shout out to Dr. Adut, Dr. David Adut, who removed my uterine polyp that was bothering me. It was benign, but it was 5 centimeters, and I was spotting. And he just said, you know what, well, scoop it
Zap it
out,
out.
and he did. And I just had a follow up, and he said, beautiful uterus. So,
Great.
I have a
Well,
beautiful uterus.
good for you. I'm on my period right now.
Yeah. Okay. So
Mazel.
good. It'll be beautiful next week.
Hi,
Thank you.
my name is Tam. I'm a writer and a comedian. And when I was a teenager, I had a Bat Mitzvah and a quinceañera, which I combined into a Batzañera. Now, I'm talking to my favorite writers, actors, and comedians about their coming-of-age ceremonies as we remember what it felt like to supposedly become an adult. This is Bless These Braces. My first guest today is Robby Hoffman, a comedian and a writer who you can hear on Too Far podcast, and you can check her stand-up set out on Netflix's Verified Stand-Up. Robby, welcome to Bless These Braces.
Oh my God, thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. My first.
This is good. You're in good hands. I was telling Adrian, your producer, this. Shout out to Adrian. But yeah, I'm adept at podcast guesting. So even though I've prepared nothing, I think it will still be okay.
Clearly, I haven't prepared or studied because I just read my own bio.
That's fine. That's a way to do it too. And
in case I forget that I'm was born in Argentina.
Yeah, no, but there's a big Argentinian Jewish community. I know that.
Very.
And then there was a collapse there when I was a kid.
There were, yes.
So a lot of Jews left.
Yes.
Because suddenly we were around Argentinians. And I'm like, what the hell is going on?
Where are you from? New York?
Yeah, in
Yes.
New York. And then even when I moved to Montreal, I met some Argentinian. There's a lot of Argentinian Jews.
So it's crazy because, and we're a very tight-knit community. Like, I was raised going to Hebrew school only until we became poor and couldn't afford them anymore.
Yeah, I went for free to, I went on subsidy.
I always wondered if
it out.
there were free ones in Argentina or what the hell was
the
deal.
No, maybe they weren't free. Like, I went to a rich school.
Right.
That there was like 3 kids in the grade who were on subsidy, and they reminded you of it constantly. Totally. I was that kid, and my mother, it was a good opportunity for her. So she, I still had a loud mouth and everything and would get in trouble, and she'd be like, can't you just be good? Just don't make any waves. This is a good opportunity for you.
Waves.
Yeah.
I love.
Yeah.
I want to get into your story. There's so much to talk about, but just to get started.
Yes.
Thinking of being an adult.
Ooh.
What it means to have a bat mitzvah. I just turned 40, which is nuts. I can't
Mazel
believe
tov.
it.
You look really hot.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I feel better than ever.
As you should.
It is weird. Something's happening where my cystic acne is like popping up again in my 40s.
Yeah, my co-host has cystic. My co-host for check out my podcast, Too Far Pod, has cystic acne. I think it's a lifelong battle. I think it'll be up and down for you.
You feel like you have incredible skin and never
I actually do have incredible skin.
Yeah.
This is something, it's kind of like I started seeing my blessings later.
Sure.
Like my skin happened to be good. I don't know how, at all, but it's genetic. I have terrible teeth. If that's any consolation. You got to give one thing up.
Good skin. I not so much. My sister went on Accutane.
Yeah.
And the cystics are complicated for me because I'm a popper. I love to.
It makes me sick, the whole thing. But who am I to say?
But when you pop a cystic acne, sorry, we're getting right to it.
Yeah.
Nothing comes out. It just turns blue and purple. So anyways,
okay, well,
very unfortunate.
Appetizing.
But
that's happened. No, Jews are cystic. I think just generally. I had a cyst removed when I was 17 from my leg. I had a uterine cyst, a uterine polyp removed. Shout out to Dr. Adut, Dr. David Adut, who removed my uterine polyp that was bothering me. It was benign, but it was 5 centimeters, and I was spotting. And he just said, you know what, well, scoop
Zap
it out.
And
he did. And I just had a follow up, and he said, beautiful uterus.
Great.
So, I have a beautiful uterus.
Good for you. I'm on my period right now.
Yeah. Okay. So
Mazel.
good. It'll be beautiful next week.
Tell us about your life. a little bit.
Well, I grew up similarly to you, religious. I grew up, I'm one of 10 kids. Many people, I'm sure this is at nauseum now for people who know me, but I have 5 brothers and 4 sisters. My parents had 10 kids by the age of 30. My mother.
My God. Wait, what order are you in
I'm
that?
7th born. I have 6 older and 3 younger. When I was a little kid, we were born into the Hasidic Jewish community in Crown Heights, Brooklyn, New York.
Uh-huh.
And then we moved when I was a kid to Montreal, to also a religious community, um, but where my mother is from. And my mother raised the 10 of us then from that point.
Okay.
So my older sisters were teenagers in New York. We were more religious then, just given the nature of the community we were in.
Sure.
And they didn't have bat mitzvahs. Maybe they had something like at the house with my mother on the guitar. Maybe it was just like, which they hated. But I was the first girl in my family to have a bar mitzvah. I still didn't do Torah or anything like that, but I had a proper party.
Just like a fun time.
Yeah, you can see the evolution of my family. We were still, to layman, I was still the most religious person ever. Even at the
Sure.
school I went to in Montreal, it was a Jewish school, but I was I was the religious, weird Ellie Kemper or whatever of the school, because I had like a long tunic rather than a short one for a while. I wore the turtleneck version of the uniform instead of like the polo.
At what age is this? Like,
I'm talking like by the time I had my bat mitzvah. I mean, I was still the most religious kid probably until 17.
Right.
I was the
Oh.
only kosher kid. Maybe there was another kosher kid, but it was really rare, you know. I was kosher till 19. So we were still really religious when I
did you
think of it.
like it? Like,
Kosher? No, I didn't like it. I don't know. I just, you know what? It's really taught me a lot now in my adult life. Like, I'm very comfortable with temptation
mm-hmm.
and not having everything I want, but I want close to everything I want. So if I'm in a relationship, which I'm in a thrilling relationship right now, and I want to enjoy that,
Yes.
you know, I think some people talk about, especially in today's day and age, about, you know, being in a committed monogamous relationship. It's, you know, people are opening up and exploring different things and doing poly and doing what I consider nonsense. And, and, you know, and for me, and they say, well, because everybody has crushes, everybody thinks somebody is attractive, whatever. I am so good with temptation. If I see, let's say I saw somebody, which next to my girlfriend, I don't even think this is true. But if I saw somebody attractive or what somebody would think, and I had something, I could let it go by me and I could be fine. Because when I was a kid, all the non-Jews had McDonald's after school,
Mm-hmm.
like a Happy Meal. And I'm like, I want to be happy. Why can't I have such a Happy Meal? And all I wanted, the smell of that, all I wanted was a nugget
Oh
growing
my
up. If I could get a
God.
nugget, I know I would be happy.
Beautiful fried nuggets.
Yeah.
I get it.
And I just never had them. But then, you know, I would sit on the stoop, we'd watch the kids, you know, eating their McDonald's as they walked. And out of a cool house box, the box was
Sure.
unreal. And the smell would, you know, I would get a waft of the smell or whiff of the smell, and then it would pass me, and my mother would call us in for dinner, and she had some
What?
horrible stew or whatever that I hated, but I was satiated after, you know, I was full, you know, and then I'm not thinking about the McDonald's anymore. So I'm very comfortable with the temptation to come in and leave.
In Buenos Aires, we have at the mall, we have the regular McDonald's and then the kosher McDonald's next
Oh,
to
you
it.
have kosher McDonald's.
Isn't that crazy? Like,
wow.
that's how big the Jewish community is, that they like at the mall.
Yeah, I thought that was only in Israel that they had a kosher
Yeah,
McDonald's.
it's crazy. And I remember being like, well, I don't want the kosher McDonald's. Like, why
Yeah.
would I if I can have the
Right.
extra greasy? But I
Right.
don't know.
Right. I love McDonald's now. I actually, for my birthday party yesterday, I ordered, I catered it by McDonald's. I still think,
Hell,
yeah, I do think
yes.
it's the
What'd
greatest.
you get, please?
I got 40
Oh
cheeseburgers.
my God.
We had 4 left over. I got 15 fries. I figure everybody sharing. And I got 60 nuggets,
And all the sauces.
all the sauces. And it was excellent. It's like, you get to a party, there's McDonald's there, shut it down. Like, this is what we want. I don't want your crudité
No.
or God knows what. It's like, I'm having a Michelob Ultra. I'm drinking beer. I don't want suddenly cheese. Bizarre combination.
I will say the only bad thing, because I've done the exact same thing for
Yeah.
a party, it does leave your apartment smelling kind of like a fart.
Shout out to Linda and her 2 sisters. I have a cleaning, service team now that I do kind of once a month as a treat to myself if I can, if money is good. She charges me 104. I tip
Not
125. It's
bad.
really not bad. It's a 2-bedroom, and, they make it tip top. They use all those cancerous lemon,
Oh, I love.
it's you trade McDonald's smell for carcinogens, and it's wonderful.
But I'm all about, like, I will spray bleach and
Mhm, mhm,
Fabuloso,
mhm.
which is like a neon green, and
Yeah,
it's
so
incredible.
she's coming this afternoon. I set it all up. I think I did it really perfect. I'm growing up.
Good for you.
Yeah, I
Well,
did it
happy
perfect.
birthday. I'm
Thank you
I'm
so much.
proud of
Thank you.
you. You
Thank you.
sound like an adult.
Yeah, you know what? I really have been an adult since 7.
Really.
Yes, yes. I remember as a kid being, if I could get to 30, I'll know if life is good or not.
But
I said, I gotta get out of here. That's all I knew as a kid.
when you say adult, is it like you were making decisions like taking care of your siblings? Like what cuz in a way I feel like I still am not there, like I'm an immature piece of shit. Like
Yeah, I don't feel immature. I feel mature.
I
I
feel it
always
too.
felt mature. I was a mature kid. Yes, I definitely took care of my siblings. We were parentified to some extent, which
Sure.
happens in a big family. Um, I'm very, my little sister was at my party yesterday. Shout out to Devora. She, uh, yeah, we were discussing the other day. I'm like, I have like a dad sister role with her.
Sure.
Like, she's like petrified to introduce her boyfriend to me because I'm like dad mode, you know? I'm not mom, but I'm also then not brother,
I
which is
feel a
interesting.
dad.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I was always mature. My mother also levied, she really took us seriously as people.
Mhm. That's a huge right.
Yeah. So when I was a kid, I would make one of my brothers has special needs. He's slower, whatever. He has some special needs. We used to say slow. You can, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? My mother was like, he's just off. Okay. And I was like, well, he can use some extra time. We like, would make, I was like, I think he should go to that school. I think it'd be good for him. I'm like 9 talking about a 7-year-old.
Insane. Yeah.
So she really respected us and our opinion and stuff. Even when I would make trouble at school, I'm like, Ma, this teacher is mental. She's got to get back to Israel or something. There's something going on with her. She'd be like, I know, I know. Listen, just that's it. You have to get through the year. I know. I know. But my mother never didn't defend me or something like that. She really took me seriously. And I was a serious kid. I was serious about everything I did. I would watercolor. I was serious about it.
Uh-huh.
I did my homework. I kept neat. I just always was 73 or something.
I think of myself and like I was both. I was a child star, so I was
Oh
like
my God.
infantilized and
Yeah.
sexualized
Oh God.
as a kid,
Yeah.
but also I have parents who I feel like are very like irresponsible, so I kind of
Yeah.
like I don't know, it was like I was treated like a child, but I acted very sexual in a young age,
Yeah.
but I also took care of my parents. It's a very weird like tug of
Yeah,
war.
money-wise, yeah. And I also so I had this, also this kind of juxtaposition where I was also very kid-like.
Right.
I was a mature kid, but I was a kid for a long time, I was very rambunctious and inquisitive the ways that I still can be now,
Mhm.
and I was a very, I was not sexualized. I was very I was very allowed to enjoy my childhood.
Tell me about your first period. Do you remember,
I
like,
remember
where you were?
exactly. I was in Mr. Jewish history class.
Oh my god, in
And
school.
Mr. was a little pervy, but he was really kind. And he would give Tic Tacs to girls who had shorter tunics.
Oh my
So there is that.
god. Tic Tacs, like
Yeah,
the least
yeah, Tic
sexy
Tacs.
snack.
But you're desperate for anything free as a kid. So I'm like, I kind of shortened my skirt. Maybe I'll get a Tic Tac.
Oh my god. Wait, hold on really quick this,
Yeah.
and I wanna hear about your period, but when I first moved to the United States, I had no friends, and my mom was like, "Will you" I was like, "How do I make friends, mom?" She was like, "Talk to your teacher advisor and tell him you have no friends." So I go up to this man and I'm like, "Mr. Whatever, I can't make friends." And he gave me like the longest hug you'll ever
Oh,
get. And he was like, "I am your friend." Cut to 2 years ago, I'm watching the news. He's in prison
oh,
for touching his students' butts.
Yeah, male school teachers, guys, I'm watching you. Males, yeah, listen, and I had some great male, I mean, shout out to Mr. my English teacher in the 8th and 10th grade. Incredible teacher and amazing. So, it's really a case by case.
True.
It's really a case by case. But yeah, Mr. Sister class, I had the worst cramps, which I didn't know what was cramps. But I'm like, this is the weirdest nauseating feeling. It was like not a stomach ache. It was just like bizarro. And I was never sick as a kid. We ate sand. Like you talk about exposure therapy. Like I never got, so that's why it's like when the only sick days I had was because I faked them. Because my mother knew, you're not sick.
And what would you do? Stay home and watch
Yeah, Maury Povich. Yeah.
Oh my God, please. It's so weird. We'll get to your period at some point, but
it's the
I would
same.
also stay home from junior high to watch Maury
Of
Povich,
course.
who I had a crush on.
Yeah, he's so hot.
He's so hot. Is he still
Great.
alive? We need to figure this out.
I think he is.
He was hot.
Yeah, he was really hot.
Okay, so the cramps began.
So the cramps, and I put it was like last period of the day, so I put my feet on another. I remember those blue chairs on the desk in front of me.
Yes.
I just had like
so
my feet up,
depressing, those desks.
and I was like, oh. And I'm like, Mr. Carr, I'm just not feeling well. He's like, well, stretch out. We have 20 more minutes. Everybody look alive. And he was like, and then class let out. And it was my great uncle Eddie's birthday. And we lived with my great uncle Eddie. So when we moved from Brooklyn, we moved to Montreal when my mother was raised. And my grandfather's brother, my great uncle Eddie, took in 10 kids and my mother, 11 people on a moment's notice.
Oh my God. Wow.
Into his duplex. Supposed to be temporary. And, we were there 20 years. My great uncle died there and my mother still, it was March 9th.
Oh, you remember the day?
Yes, because it was my great uncle Eddie's birthday and I was in the bathroom and my sister was warning me about getting my period. My older sister, Chaya, shout out to Chaya, such a legend. But she was like, if you get your period, whatever you do, don't tell Ma.
No way.
Yeah. So I was like, and I knew it was my period, but it said brown, red. And I'm like, oh my God. I was kind of happy to get it because everybody was getting it. But I'm like, I was beyond like pass out, like really weak. And I'm like, oh. And all I hear my mother screaming, cake! It's after school, like, it's Uncle Eddie's birthday, cake! Cake! And I'm like, I'm coming! And she's like counting the kids and she's like, Rifki, cake! I'm like, Ma, I'm coming for cake! I fucking get up there.
Did you do a wad of toilet paper?
Yeah, I don't even know what I did. My mother, I don't even know. And I get there, we have cake. I'm like, all right, give me a piece of happy birthday. That's like my great uncle Eddie's 77th birthday.
Shout out to great uncle Eddie.
I
miss him and I don't even know him.
Great uncle Eddie. And it's really sweet. So he ended up taking us. We were so bad to him. Like we treated him like another sibling. Like he would want to watch tennis or be like, Eddie, we're not watching tennis.
Oh my God.
Like his own TV. Like we were just like, like he would start to defecate in his pants. He was getting really sick at a certain point. He was like peeing himself. I'm like, Uncle Eddie, you reek.
Oh my God.
This man just took us. It was something like a simple life. Took us in, moved to the garage of his own place and lived there, and I do remember maturing at around 15, 16. I went down to the garage to change laundry or something. And I heard from his little room at the end of it, I heard hello? I'm like, 50. I'm like, this man's getting really old. And I go in there and it's my great uncle Eddie. It's minus 40. He would drive us everywhere. Every bar mitzvah, he drove us. He picked us up at 1 a.m.
I love him.
He did everything. And he was sitting there. His feet looked like they had gangrene.
Sure,
I don't know what.
They turned purple at a certain point.
They were freezing and he was on his bed. And he goes, he's like, oh, my feet. I'm like, Uncle Ed, why don't I? And he's like, will you put ointment?
Oh, sweet man.
And I had a choice. I'm like,
you better have put ointment.
Okay. And I'm like, you know what? This is the difference between childhood and art.
Yeah.
Rob, you gotta, this is an old man. And I said, you know what? Sure, Uncle Eddie, I'll put. It was the first time I was kind to him. And he said, take it and smear it. And I took and I put it on. And his relief was, oh, it was immediate.
Oh,
And I'm like, I just like save this man. He was like, oh, he couldn't reach his own feet.
oh my
And he was
God.
like, oh, and I'm like, it's gonna be okay, Uncle Eddie. I can come back later and put more on. And he was like,
Sweet.
thank you so much. Like he was so
That's
thankful.
like,
And I was like, okay, like he's getting old. Like I was starting to recognize what he had done for us.
sure, a true mensch. Like, speak of,
No, really a
I mean,
mensch.
I don't even let people come over for dinner.
He's
Like,
unbelievable, my
yeah.
great uncle. And the fact that we weren't touched or molested, we lived with old
Yeah,
men.
no.
We had his friends coming over. I was a cute kid. I really, not that I have to defend men, but I grew up with some pretty honorable,
Yeah.
straight,
Yeah.
white men.
And how did he die?
He died of C. difficile, sadly,
What is
in the
that?
hospital. It's an infection that you get from the hospital stay, something.
Yeah.
He was very old. He was 84, I believe. And all he wanted was McDonald's.
You're
He wanted
kidding me.
hash browns, and we weren't allowed to bring him. And my
Please.
mother said, just give him a hash brown. So we would sneak in hash browns because he ended up dying half of anorexia and C. difficile. He
Oh my God.
refused to eat the food at the hospital. So he
Wow.
was only eating when we were sneaking him food. He really refused. He said, I will not go out this way. Yeah, my little sister, shout out to Yehudis, she had a baby girl who's just unbelievable, my niece, and her name is Tehila Eddie. And Tehila means
Aw.
praise, Eddie, my great uncle Eddie,
Mm-hmm.
and they call her Teddy. So
Cute.
she's named after my great uncle Eddie. And yeah, he was amazing.
Oh, this podcast is dedicated to Uncle Eddie.
Yeah, Uncle Eddie.
My grandma weirdly died also at 84. She died, she choked
Ugh,
on a ham and cheese sandwich because that's like what she wanted.
yeah.
Like it was,
I heard that's how the girl from the Mamas and the Papas died.
I heard a ham and cheese sandwich story too. Is it that she choked on it
Yeah,
or
that
they
she
found,
choked. It could
yeah.
just be fat phobic or something. It
Maybe
could
I'm
be,
just
yeah.
lying
But
and
my
repeating
mother
that story.
always laughed at that, which I always felt was like, okay, man.
I remember that too. No,
let's
but
ease up.
my grandma Luisa turned purple
Mhm.
from that.
Oh
and
no, they're choking at that age. You got to
Yeah,
start cutting. You know, we
totally.
started having apparatus in the bath because I'm like, what's going? We have a seat. We had one bath. We had one shower. So it's like now we have a seat. I'm like, I would come home from camp and like, oh, Uncle Eddie's walking with a cane. I'm like, Uncle Eddie, what's wrong with you? You can't walk no more? And he's like, literally, he's like 80 years old, going like, and him in the bath. I'm like, oh, Uncle Eddie's in the bathroom. We'll never,
Like
we'll
10
never
hours.
get in
What do you,
there.
yeah, like what did you guys do if you had to dump?
Well, we had that little bathroom in my mother's room.
Oh, there was the half bathroom.
Yeah, so we always you would go to one if one was full, you would go to the other.
Right.
But showering and stuff, if you were there more than 10 minutes, like, I started like masturbating in the bath and doing
Oh,
all that stuff.
wow.
You're all teenagers, and the
Standing
only
there.
privacy I ever had was in the bathroom.
Right.
And I imagine all of us had. I once asked my brother, I said, all the boys were living downstairs. He's like, we lived in a hallway. Which is true. That
Right.
my mother put a bunk bed here, a bunk bed here, and it was like on the way to the garage where my great uncle Eddie was. And I said, you were at the time, my brothers, I have 4 very close in age. You were like 12 and 14, 15, 16, living in bunkers, Did
Yeah.
you, and he said, I never did. Shmuley goes, I can tell you I never did, but I can't speak to Schneer. Like, what the hell? Yeah, so it's like our only private time we had was in the bathroom.
bathroom.
So let's say I'm there 10 minutes. If 10 minutes even was up, Ma, she's in there 10 minutes. She's in there 10 minutes.
Wow.
And we was like banging on the door. Get out, get out. Cold showers, you name it. It's like I
Yeah.
grew up in the Soviet Union.
How are you close with your family today?
Yes.
Like what's
I'm close with a number of my siblings
uh-huh.
and my mother. Yeah.
Where does your mom live?
In Regina, Saskatchewan.
Oh, I have a friend from Regina.
Yeah, they could
I always say
could
vagina.
pronounce it Regina.
Yeah.
Easily.
Yeah.
Same spelling, but they do go out of their way to pronounce it Regina.
Vagina.
So my bat mitzvah, I was the first kid to have a bat mitzvah.
In your family.
Yes, and it didn't have a religious portion, which I went to a school where girls were having bat mitzvahs, real bat mitzvahs. So my family still was the most religious. We didn't do that. But my grandfather's party room, my grandfather lived in a 55 plus type of building, and they had a party room.
Uh-huh.
And so we rented that. or use that. And my sister DJ'd,
Oh my God.
and she was really cool. And
What do you remember what year was this?
it must have been like
90.
2002
Oh,
or
you're younger.
something.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, she's DJing. She's got her weirdo friends there. I invite the whole grade because my mother's like, you have to invite the whole grade.
Co-ed?
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
co-ed at this point. And Uncle Eddie drives me to my grandfather's. We're going. He's holding the cake, and he like opened the door and drops the cake. And I'm like, fuck,
No.
Uncle Eddie. Like, and he's like driving me. He's coming, and I'm like, you ruined the cake. I'm going off on
Poor
him.
guy.
And
Like,
I was like, you ruined the cake. And it's something I still feel so bad that I
you
yelled at
should.
him for this, but I have to be Grace. We were kids and we were living together and whatever. But yeah, my grandmother fixed the cake and made it, whatever.
Did it
But
say like happy bat mitzvah?
it said happy birthday.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah. Yeah, we gave out like prizes, but they weren't good. I went to a rich school at this point. So
Uh-huh.
like people were giving out like blow up couches and psycho crazy
God.
things. And I was giving out like things that weren't prizes, like clappers from the
Sure,
from the
for
dollar
99
store.
cents store,
Yeah.
yeah.
And stuff. But it was a really fun party. And
What'd you wear,
I wore a gorgeous outfit.
please?
Yes, I had a blue velvet leotard that was long
Oh,
sleeve.
pants?
No, and then a skirt that went over it. But a wrap,
Gorgeous.
it's like you wore the leotard. It was the same fabric as
Yeah.
the skirt. It was mini, which I loved. I wore black
Oh,
tights
cute.
and black Mary Janes.
We have such similar, like, kind of makeshift bat mitzvah stories.
Yeah, yeah, it was a makeshift, and it was really fun in the end. I got so many presents.
No alcohol, I assume.
No, there wasn't alcohol.
I was thinking about that. Like, was there alcohol at mine? And I looked at pictures, and there was bottles of wine. I mean, obviously for
Yeah,
the
we had no
adults,
grown-ups
but
there.
oh, it was just like
It was
kids
like a
going
party.
wild.
Yeah, it was just my class. It was just like my grade. I don't even think all of my siblings were there.
Did you have a crush at that time?
Maybe I did. Yeah, I don't know. Bryant, this kid who ended up moving. I don't know if Bryant was out there. My God, he gave me a laser pointer and $72. I thought that was pretty generous.
72 cash.
I don't know if it was a check or if it was
Oh my God,
cash
a
or
check
whatever.
for 72.
I never got the money though. I gave all the money to my Zadie. I
An
gave all the checks to my.
angel.
Yeah, I think I know because he was like, "I'll take the checks, whatever," and I was opening it at his house, and then I think a few weeks later, I asked him like, did I get any money from this bat mitzvah? Like, what happened with these checks? He's like, open the fridge, huh?
Oh, that is
You
so
want your bat
fucked
mitzvah
up.
money? Open the fridge, and I'm like, all right. But like, what did I need money for? I
Yeah,
was like,
no,
"All
but
right."
I'm
He probably
mad.
needs it more than me. Like,
Yeah.
look what he's doing. This whole opera. I was like, he's got a point. I don't buy
Again,
milk. I don't know how much this shit is. You
an
know.
adult.
Yeah, yeah.
Truly.
He was like, "You want your bat mitzvah money? Why don't you open the fridge, see if there's anything to eat?"
Oh
So,
my God.
yeah.
If you could give advice to your 7th, 8th grade self now, knowing what you know, what would it be?
That like, if I get to know, I'm like, future Rob's got you. I always
Yeah.
think of the little kid in me,
Yeah.
and the way that I look at my life is like, hey, little Rob, like I don't feel it's nothing to take care of yourself. I tell my little sisters this. I think, a lot of people look at like a dependent or having a child or having something, and I'm like, I tell my little sister, I'm like, Deb, we may not have a child, this and that. You have a dependent, it's you. You have to make sure that you're well fed, you're housed, you're
Mm-hmm.
fulfilled, you're loved, all these things. And I look at the little Rob in me and taking care of her, and I go, Rob,
Oh,
I promise you I'm doing everything I can to get you there.
that is
I
so
promise I got
sweet.
this. You got somebody in the future looking at. So I would, if I met my little self there, I'd be like, Rob, I know we're getting there. Don't worry, just enjoy this. It's fine. It's not it could be worse.
Yeah.
The Jewish way, it could be worse. Okay, you definitely could be worse. You're at a party. Calm down. Calm down for you. And I promise you, I'll see you in the future, and we're figuring it out.
It's very cheesy,
Yeah.
but it's so true. My therapist made me do this exercise where I picture myself at age like 11 or 12.
Yeah.
And I have to tell her what I'm wearing and all of that. And then I have to say, I got you, baby. I got you. And
Yeah,
I was like,
I really
I'm never
have
doing
always
that.
felt that.
But
I'm like,
it's-
I got you. Come,
Yeah.
she's a little more impatient than me. I'm like,
Yeah.
believe me, we're not set up. I'm going as fast as I can with
Yeah.
no hookups, nothing. So I'm doing, it's just gonna take us a little second. We gotta go through back doors and shit. And we gotta be really good. So that's just calm down, and we're getting there. And she's like, are we there yet? Are we there yet? What's going on? What's going on? Where's the house with this and this and this? I go, listen, it's not the biggest house, but we still got a house. It is what it is. I'm like always like managing her expectations. And yeah, and I'm still dreaming like her. So it's good. We're always all the versions of ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, this,
Cute.
I don't have short answers. I don't have short answers.
Perfect.
Okay, I don't have an indoor voice and I don't have short answers. Could not survive the next Holocaust. There's no question. I can't whisper. I can't hide. There's nothing. I'm here. Get me. Take me now. Thank you for having me. Really, really fun. Follow me on everything. The Too Far Pod, wherever you find podcasts. Check out my Netflix set.
And plug
streaming
your
now. For any nudes, I'm on Instagram at Robby Hoffman.
Well, thank you so much for
Thank you for
being
having
here.
me. Thank you for having me.